Let us start right away with the main question that has been hanging over Hande Erçel's name for several years now. Does she want to become a mother in the coming years? And if yes, what does motherhood mean to her after everything she has been through? She is already 32, with several serious relationships behind her, the death of her mother, her niece's severe illness, a dizzying career rise, global contracts, and constant moves between Istanbul and London. And every time she steps onto the red carpet or gives a new interview, the questions are no longer only about series and premieres, but about family as well, and they sound louder and louder. Do you think about having a child? Do you want to be a mother? On the one hand, there are the tabloids, waiting for a sensational headline in the spirit of wedding and baby soon. And in the finale, we will turn on our imagination and do what HanKer's fans have long dreamed of. We will imagine what the children of Hande Erçel and Kerem Bürsin could have been like, and how Hande's pregnancy might have gone if their love had not stopped in 2022, but had reached the most important point.
Subscribe to our channel to always stay in the loop with the most fascinating content. And now, let's get started.
Today, Hande is 32 years old. She was born on November 24, 1993 in Bandırma, and formally she is exactly at that age when the standard question from journalists almost automatically sounds like, "So when is the baby coming?" Over the years, she has had several big love stories, each of which could have ended in a wedding and the birth of a child. A long-term relationship and engagement with singer Murat Dalkılıç, a romance, and then a relationship with her Sensual Kapımı co-star Kerem Bürsin, which in 2021-2022 was the main love story of Turkish dramas. And then an almost 3-year union with businessman Hakan Sabancı, with whom she was already introduced as the bride of a major Turkish dynasty. What is interesting is that at none of these stages did Hande try to pretend that she dreamed only of marriage and children. In early interviews, she honestly said that she was not in a hurry to become a mother, that she first wanted to build her life and herself, and not fit into someone else's expectations. But time does its work. The 20s pass one after another, the 30s arrive, and next to her name words like the most popular, one of the highest paid, global ambassador are heard more and more often, and the logical question from the public changes. Will there be room for a child inside such a career, or will motherhood for her be a separate conscious choice and not a side effect of a great romance? To understand what Hande wants from future motherhood, we need to return to what she herself went through as a daughter. Her mother, Aylin Erçel, fought cancer for a long time and passed away in January 2019. For Hande, this was not just a personal tragedy. In interviews, she has said more than once that the bond with her mother was very strong, almost dissolving, and that after her death, she had to literally piece herself back together. Her relationship with her sister Gamze, on the contrary, became a pillar of support. They are not just sisters. They worked together, appeared in commercials together, went through failed projects, and the most difficult health news in the family together. This family triangle, mother, 2 daughters, formed in Hande a very specific image. Family is not a picture, but an alliance of women who hold on to each other until the end. And when she speaks about a future child today, she always returns to this formula, not just to give birth, but to create a mother-child bond as deep as the one she had with her own mother. When love for a child came before motherhood, when Gamze's daughter was born, the girl was named Aylin Mavi in honor of their mother. By this alone, the family showed how strong memory is and how important continuity is. From the very first months of Mavi's life, it was obvious. For Hande, this is not just a niece, but a little person to whom she is attached almost like to her own child. The actress herself often said that she has a special feeling with Mavi. She spent almost all her free time with her, took her to sets, shared photos, and called her the brightest gift of our family. If we look from the outside, it was precisely with Mavi's birth that Hande got the chance to live through motherhood in aunt mode, without a formal status, but with complete emotional involvement. Mavi's illness. How this experience changed Hande's view of children. When Mavi was diagnosed with cancer, the girl was only 2 years old. The Turkish press wrote cautiously about severe oncological treatment, about trips to the hospital, about how the family tried not to make too many details public. For Hande, this was a second front of pain after her mother's death. She had already once seen how illness takes away a loved one, and now she was watching how a small child, the very one she called a gift of fate, was going through chemo, surgeries, and endless hospital corridors. According to Turkish media reports, the treatment lasted about a year and a half. In 2024, the family received the main thing. Mavi defeated cancer. Hande said that it was a breath of air that entered the house again, and that since then, she has understood the value of time spent with loved ones even more sharply. This experience changed her attitude toward motherhood fundamentally. A child for her is no longer an abstract picture from a happiness commercial, but a living, fragile life that at any moment can be tested by illness, loss, fear. And that is why, in recent interviews, when she is asked about children, she responds much more deeply than with a simple yes or no. In one of the recent conversations about family and the future, Hande admits, "My feeling about motherhood is changing. The bond with my mother was so strong that I want one day to build a similar bond with my child. This desire is a little frightening, but it exists." This is an important phrase. She does not say, "I want a child right now." She says, "I want a bond, depth, a continuation of what once existed between her and her mother." At the same time, her life does not look at all like a ready for maternity leave picture. Hande is at the peak of her career, acts in international projects, writes the script and produces her own film, İki Dünya Bir Dilek, becomes the global face of brands, moves between Istanbul and London, and at the end of 2025 buys real estate both in Turkey and in the UK. But at the same time, everything is also changing in her personal life. The breakup with Hakan Sabancı, which was written about as a combination of a crisis of trust and disapproval from his family, and then a new stage, a cautious rapprochement with producer Onur Guvenatam, about whom she herself said briefly, "Very new, there is nothing to talk about yet. Kismet." So today, Hande is a woman who clearly wants love and a strong bond, who is not afraid to rebuild from scratch, to change cities and projects, but who already knows for sure that a child for her is not an accessory to a beautiful life, but a serious decision that she approaches through her experience as a daughter, an aunt, and a woman who has lived through losses. And now, a what if? What could the children of Hande and Kerem have been like? And at this moment, a name inevitably enters the frame that fans still do not let go of. Kerem Bürsin. Their romance began on the set of Sen Çal Kapımı, grew from on-screen chemistry into a real relationship, covered half of the Turkish and international fan internet, and ended in 2022. Leaving behind millions of fan pages under the name HanKer's. Since then, every parallel step they take, a new project, a festival, a fashion show, even rare crossings in Milan or at mutual events, instantly grows into the question, and what if they had not broken up? What if they were already parents now? Let us for a minute allow ourselves not to be analysts and become screenwriters, like Hande herself in İki Dünya Bir Dilek. Let us imagine not what is, but what could have been if their story had followed a different path. What their children could have been like, a little fantasy for HanKer hearts. If we are completely honest, the fans have already done half the work for us. The internet is full of fan art where the children of Hande and Kerem are green-eyed boys and girls with dimples, a mane of hair, and a smile that clearly does not know whose charm is stronger in it. In their home, there definitely would not have been a cultivated image of the perfect Instagram family. Rather, a real, sometimes noisy, sometimes tired, but very honest family life, where Hande passes on to her children what her mother, sister, and Mavi taught her: to hold on to each other, not to be afraid to cry. And not to be ashamed of dreaming about the impossible. And in this imagined future, it becomes clear why the question, does Hande Erçel want to become a mother, touches viewers so deeply. Because for her, motherhood is not just the next item after success, but a personal finale, and at the same time, a new beginning. The continuation of her bond with her mother, gratitude for Mavi's recovery, an attempt to build that kind of home where love does not end when the credits roll. Whether Kerem, Onur, or someone else will be by her side at that moment, time will tell. The fact is something else. Hande herself is already openly saying that she wants one day to create a bond with her child as deep as the one she once felt with her mother. And everything else is a matter of fate, or, as she herself likes to repeat, of one simple word: Kısmet.